Arvax floated just above Earth's atmosphere, where the thin blue curve of the planet lay beneath his small silver starship, the Oretheon. His people, the Halori, had sent him as their last hope. The Oretheon drifted without sound among familiar stars. Inside its oval cabin, Arvax ran pale fingers along a smooth panel of glowing crystal. Like the surface of a calm lake, the crystal pulsed softly with light in ever-shifting shades of violet and green. He closed his multifaceted eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of his mission settle in his chest. If he failed, every Halori would perish within a generation. Late that same day, in a remote research outpost high in the mountains of Central Asia, Dr. Lena Farouk noticed unusual energy readings on her console. The outpost lay hidden beneath spires of rock and thin forests of pine, far from prying eyes. Lena led a team of genetic scientists who studied rare Earth microbes. They had never before encountered an alien presence or a Halori vessel. As Lena adjusted the readings, a sudden shimmer filled the air. In the blink of an eye, Arvax appeared in the center of her laboratory, standing on a circular patch of metal that fell into shadow as he manifested. At first, Lena and her colleagues froze. Arvax was tall and slender, with skin that reflected light like metal, faintly etched with pale runes that glowed in time with his breathing. His face was calm but serious. His many eyes, 6 in total, shifted color like nebula clouds when he focused on each scientist. The air around him felt charged. Shields and walls registered no known presence, no heat signature or familiar signal. Slowly, Lena stepped forward, her heart pounding. Uncertain how to greet him, she simply lifted a hand and spoke aloud. "You must be Arvax. We mean no harm." Arvax remained silent for a moment. Then, in a voice that seemed to come from all directions at once, he projected images and thoughts directly into Lena's mind. She gasped as vivid snapshots of dying Halori cities filled her vision. Towering crystalline spires crumbling, great libraries of living light flickering out, and faces of Halori elders mourning beneath violet skies. Lena realized he spoke without audible words. With each image, he conveyed urgency. "Our people face extinction. Our reproductive cycle has failed. We cannot create new children to carry on our legacy. Only by merging Halori genetics with a human simpler code can we hope to save our next generation." Lena released a shaky breath and motioned for her team to gather around a nearby holoscreen. She watched Arvax project diagrams of Halori biology, a complex system of 3 intertwined genetic circuits that formed in a crystalline chamber deep in their homeworld's living spires. She learned that a Halori embryo formed only when 3 adults' biological energies aligned in precise harmony. If even one circuit failed, the entire process collapsed, and Thana stood at a window overlooking the jagged mountain horizon. In the fading daylight, she watched his silver form disappear into a beam of white light. She turned back to her team and whispered, "We have 6 days. Let's not waste a moment." Her lab reported readiness. The stasis chambers chilled to the precise temperature needed to protect Halori cells, and protocols for human DNA extraction were in place. Yet as she looked at the empty space where Arvax had stood, Lena felt the weight of every Halori soul riding on their work. She drew in a steady breath and prepared to face whatever challenges those next days would bring, united by science, compassion, and the hope that 2 worlds might find a way to grow. A single child as dawn broke over the mountain peaks. A hush fell inside the secret laboratory. Dr. Lena Farouk moved between workstations, checking that all consoles and sensors were active. The sterile white walls reflected morning light, making the space feel almost bright enough to banish troubling thoughts. Outside, pine trees swayed in a gentle breeze, but inside, tension simmered. Today, the team would decide whether to help the Halori or send Ambassador Arvax away. By mid-morning, Lena had gathered her key colleagues around a central holoscreen. The floating table showed a 3-dimensional model of Halori cells, colored in faint purples and teals. Dr. Raj Patel, a pediatric geneticist with kind eyes and a thoughtful manner, studied the model carefully. He tapped a finger on the screen, tracing the spiral of a Halori chromosome. Their DNA structure, he began, is layered in 3 overlapping circuits. Each circuit carries instructions that must align perfectly. If even one bit of information is off, the embryo fails. Raj turned to Dr. Yara Wu, a specialist in bioengineering. We need to be sure that human DNA can match at least one of those layers without causing catastrophic errors. We cannot risk a malformed embryo or unintended mutations. Yara nodded, her hair pulled back in a tight braid. She wore a lab coat stained faintly with buffer solution. I agree. Human chromosomes are simpler, just 2 circuits. If we can splice a human sequence into one of the Halori pathways, it might hold the other 2 circuits steady long enough for development. But we have no data on cross-species neural development. The brain could form too fast or not at all. Lena listened closely. She knew that scientifically the risks were enormous. But she also saw the holographic images projected by Arvax the day before. His people's dying cities and sorrowful faces. Her heart ached at the memory. She cleared her throat and projected her voice softly across the room. We must weigh those risks against the chance to save an entire species. If we decline, the last Halori will die alone. If we attempt this, we must set very strict conditions. At that moment, the laboratory door opened quietly. Ambassador Arvax entered, his silver skin cool against the lab's warm light. His many eyes, 6 in all, shifted in gentle waves of violet. Though his presence had seemed almost otherworldly at first, Lena now understood his calm determination. He matched her gaze with a slow nod, as if he sensed her internal struggle. Ambassador, Lena said, thank you for coming. Today we gather to decide if we can offer Halori hope. Arvax bowed slightly. In his mind, a quiet voice spoke to her. I am grateful. I know your people must choose freely. Though his words were silent, Lena understood them as clearly as any spoken language. Lena turned back to her counsel. She gestured toward a small sealed container on a pedestal. Before we finalize any decision, Ambassador, could you show us a Halori embryo? We need to see what we are dealing with. Arvax approached the pedestal and gently placed a hand on the container's surface. The glass began to glow with soft turquoise light. Lena and her colleagues gathered around, leaning in with cautious fascination. Inside, a tiny Halori embryo floated in a crystalline fluid. It glowed faintly, its form delicate and almost transparent. Lena watched its shape, pulsed gently as if it held a faint heartbeat. The embryo's surface was etched with pale runes that shimmered in time with its cellular activity. Arvax projected a thought into the room. This is the last viable Halori embryo. Without infusion of human genetic material, it cannot complete its tri-circuit formation. It will wither in stasis within 48 hours. The urgency in his mind made the hologram's light seem to flicker more rapidly. Raj swallowed hard. So if we do nothing, this embryo will die. Your people will have no more children. He spoke slowly, as if weighing each word. Arvax inclined his head. Again, his calm tone resonated in their minds. Yes, and then the Halori will vanish. Yara stepped forward. If we accept, we must be certain our lab can handle the biohazard. We need complete isolation, strict containment, and a plan for early detection of any mutation. If the embryo shows the slightest sign of unstable growth, we must terminate the experiment humanely. Lena raised her hand. We agree. We will set up dual stasis chambers, one to hold the Halori genetic material, and one to hold the human DNA samples. Our best hope is to combine them in a controlled test tube as signature, then pass the pad to Raj and Yara. Each took a moment before signing. Finally, Arvax touched the pad, and it dissolved into shimmering particles that drifted toward him and vanished. Well, Lena said, letting out a slow breath. We have our agreement. Ambassador, we will begin genetic sampling immediately. Our first step is to analyze Halori cells in our lab's maximum security stasis chamber. If all goes well, we will attempt a preliminary fusion with a human DNA strand by noon tomorrow. Arvax bowed his head in gratitude. Though no spoken words passed, Lena felt a surge of relief in his deeply empathic mind. Thank you, Lena. Farouk and Friends of Earth, we owe a debt to your generosity. He turned and left the lab as quietly as he had arrived, leaving a faint shimmer of silver light in his wake. As the door slid shut, Lena turned to her team. Get started. First, we must confirm the Halori cells are stable. Then we can figure out how to merge them with human DNA. She paused, glancing at Raj and Yara. This might be the most important experiment any of us will ever do. Let's make sure it is done right. They nodded, each stepping into action. Raj secured the sample containment unit. Yara powered up the genomic sequencer. Anya prepared the ethical oversight records. Lena crossed to the peripheral console and entered commands to activate the high-security stasis chamber. Soft cooling lights bathed the room in a calm blue glow. In the heart of the secluded laboratory, the air felt cool and tense. Dr. Lena Farouk stood before a bank of monitors displaying streams of genetic data. Each screen glowed with lines of code and colored graphs. The Halor, embryo contained within a transparent stasis chamber, drifted in a pale turquoise fluid. Nearby, a second chamber held vials of human DNA samples, each taken from volunteers who had willingly donated blood for this experiment. Dr. Yara Wu adjusted her safety goggles and leaned closer to one monitor. The Halori chromosomes are stable so far, she said. Her voice felt calm but excited. On the screen, the Halori DNA sequence wrapped itself around virtual models of spiky crystalline proteins. These proteins served as scaffolds to guide Halori cell growth. Without them, the embryo would never form correctly. Next to her, Dr. Raj Patel tapped a control panel. We must isolate one of the Halori circuits, he explained slowly. There are 3 genetic circuits in their cells. If we replace the third circuit with human DNA, it might hold the other 2 in place until development begins. His face showed deep focus. He had spent the last 10 years studying human embryology, but now he was learning alien biology in a hurry. Lena walked over, holding a clear pipette. Let's begin the fusion process, she said. She aimed the pipette at a small microcentrifuge tube. Inside, Halori nuclei floated in a special buffer solution. The tube glowed faintly under the lab's ultraviolet light. Lena withdrew a tiny sample of human genetic material and added it to the tube. The 2 solutions blended, creating a swirl of faint violet and green. Yara watched the readouts. Now we insert the mixed sample into the test chamber, she said. She flipped a switch on a large control console. Soft hisses came from vents as the test chamber sealed shut. Within seconds, sensors charted temperature, pH levels, and radiation exposure. The chamber maintained the precise conditions required for Halori cells to remain alive outside their natural environment. Hours passed as the lab team monitored every metric. Lena moved between stations, her brow furrowed in concentration. Occasionally, she checked on a small microscope mounted with a digital camera. Under 600x magnification, she could see microfilaments of Halori cytoplasm merging with human cell fragments. The filaments wove themselves together in a slow dance, an alien ballet. By late afternoon, Raj spoke quietly. Initial scans show partial alignment. The human base pairs have slotted into the third circuit, but the neural gene markers are lighting up faster than expected. He pointed at a graph. A red line represented neural development indicators. That line was rising steeply, far above the safe threshold they had set. Lena's heart raced. A premature spike in neural gene expression could cause the embryo's brain to grow too quickly, she said. That would lead to severe abnormalities. We must slow the process. She tapped on a tablet and lowered the chamber's growth hormones by 10%. These hormones, synthesized in the lab, mimicked Halori signals that told cells when to divide and differentiate. Yet, even as Lena adjusted the hormones, an alarm chimed softly from the control panel. A warning message flashed. Genetic deviation. Detected neural gene overactivation. The light on the panel turned yellow, then orange. Lena and Raj exchanged worried glances. Yara clicked several keys and pulled up a new screen of detailed gene maps. We are seeing early formation of neural folds. Too many neurons are trying to form connections at once. This could cause the embryo's neural network to collapse under its own weight. She ran a quick calculation and added, "If we do not stop this, the hybrid embryo will not survive. It could die within hours." Lena pressed her lips together. "Call a meeting," she ordered. "We need to decide if we can continue or if we must halt the experiment." She moved to a side room where a round table waited. Soon, Raj, Yara, Dr. Anya Vost, the ethicist, and a small security officer, Colonel Mara Weiss, joined her. The room felt smaller than the lab. Sunlight streamed through a narrow window, casting long shadows on the table. Lena began, "We have a critical situation. The embryo's neural genes are overactivating. We cannot let it grow too fast. We face either halting the experiment or finding a way to slow down development without harming the cells." Anya spoke gently. "We must consider the embryo's welfare. If it survives but suffers deformities, it will not have a chance at life. We need a plan to stabilize its growth." Colonel Weiss nodded. "Scientifically, you will decide. But remember, we must keep the embryo safe from external threats. The lab door must remain locked until we finish." Raj took a deep breath. "We could try a phased growth protocol. Instead of giving the embryo full Halori hormones, we gradually introduce them over time. Right now, it has a high dose for rapid initial growth. If we dial back to 20% and slowly increase every 6 hours, we might keep neural development in check." Yara added, "We also need to tweak the nutrient mix. Human and Halori cells require different amino acid balances. If we adjust the feed solution to match Halori needs exactly, the human DNA won't dominate too quickly." Lena nodded. "So the plan is, reduce hormone levels immediately, adjust the nutrient solution, and monitor neural gene markers every hour. If the markers show signs of calming, we continue. If they spike again, we stop and reevaluate." She tapped on her tablet and wrote a quick note. "We call this the phased growth protocol." Anya leaned forward. "We must also establish a strict boundary. If at any point the embryo shows signs of irreversible damage, doubled neural fold thickness, abnormal protein signals, or cell apoptosis in the core, we end the experiment." She looked at Lena. "Are you ready to give that order?" Lena's gaze hardened with resolve. "Yes. The embryo's life is precious, but we cannot gamble on a child who cannot live. We do this carefully, step by step." Raj circled back to the lab. "Lena, tell the control console to lower hormones to 20% and begin adjusting the nutrient flow. I will revise the gene inhibitor script to reduce neural expression." Within minutes, the lab was a hive of controlled activity. Monitors showed the hormone rate dropping. Labels on digital screens turned a softer green instead of bright orange. Yara measured amino acid levels in the nutrient solution. Carefully mixing a new batch in a glass beaker, she poured the replacement solution into the chamber's input. Port and sensors immediately registered the change. Arvax's presence, though unseen, felt like a silent support. In the stasis chamber, the embryo's glow pulsed more slowly. Its form remained fragile, but there was no sign of rapid collapse. Lena watched the gene expression charts climb and then level off. The neural markers still showed activity, but their rise had slowed. As evening settled outside, the team maintained a continuous vigil. Raj checked data points every 15 minutes. Yara recalibrated her instruments. Anya reviewed the ethical logs, making sure every adjustment was recorded. Colonel Weiss paced near the exit, ensuring no unauthorized entry. By late night, the neural gene markers had halted their rapid climb. The chart show Lena nodded. "One step at a time. Tonight we ensure its safety." She looked at the glowed a stable plateau within safe limits. Lena allowed herself a small smile. "We did it," she whispered. Her voice echoed softly in the quiet lab. Yara exhaled in relief. "The phased protocol has worked for now. We keep monitoring." Raj leaned back in his chair, exhaustion on his face. "Tomorrow we can consider next steps. If the embryo remains stable, we might try introducing a second human gene segment to support cardiac development. but only if we remain confident in its neural growth. Wing chamber. The embryo's faint pulse of light felt like a heartbeat, bridging two worlds, human and Halori. Outside, in the silent mountains, a breeze stirred the pine trees. Inside, the lab team stayed awake, united by a single goal: to nurture the fragile life that held the future of an alien race. Simple hope glowed in the dim light, as science and compassion worked side by side. Twilight settled over the mountain peaks, casting long shadows through the laboratory's narrow windows. Inside, soft hums of equipment filled the air as Dr. Lena Farouk reviewed the latest data on the hybrid embryo. The phased growth protocol had stabilized neural markers for nearly 24 hours. Yet, a deep undercurrent of tension ran through the lab. Rumors whispered that news of the experiment had reached outside ears. People who had never believed in aliens suddenly felt compelled to protest, and some felt compelled to act. Just as Lena prepared to collect new samples for cardiac gene analysis, the lab's security console beeped insistently. Colonel Mara, Weiss, standing by the door, glanced at the monitor and stiffened. "Someone is trying to access our secure transmission channel," she announced. A log showed multiple unauthorized login attempts. Weiss moved to lock down the internal network, but another alert flashed. A drone hovered near the outpost's roof. The lab's perimeter cameras captured its silhouette, a small, black device equipped with a camera and two mechanical arms. Its red indicator light blinked ominously. Lena felt a tremor of fear. Could they be trying to damage the stasis chambers? She asked. Inside, the Halori embryo rested, its faint glow pulsating like a fragile heartbeat. If the chambers lost power, the embryo would perish instantly. "Possible," Weiss replied. "We need to protect the chambers at all costs." She pressed a button to activate the lab's external defense grid, a set of low-intensity electric fences and sonic deterrents. Outside, energy barriers snapped to life, casting thin blue lines across the facility's perimeter. The drone hesitated on its approach, then retreated into the gathering dusk. Just then, Dr. Raj Patel entered carrying a data pad. His face was pale. "The news leak reached social media," he said. "Some groups are calling us monsters for mixing human and alien DNA. They claim we're creating abominations." He tapped the pad to show a scrolling list of angry comments. "If they find this lab, they will try to destroy the embryo." Lena closed her eyes for a moment, steadying her breath. She remembered the faces Arvax had shown her, the Halori children who would never be born. She could not turn away. Now. "Increase security," she instructed Weiss. "No one enters or leaves without approval. If protesters march this way, we will hold them at the outer fence. Their voices cannot drown out the life we protect inside." A hush fell over the team as they resumed their tasks. Though each movement carried extra caution, by nightfall a small crowd had gathered at the base of the mountain. Flashing signs and megaphones split the silence. Lena watched through a reinforced window as people chanted, "Stop the alien experiment," and "Protect Earth's purity." Lights bounced off marching banners and the sound of rhythmic stomping echoed below. Colonel Weiss contacted local authorities, but they hesitated to act, fearful of public backlash and unsure how to handle a bioengineered alien-human project. While protesters shouted and the drone circled, another threat took root within the lab. Late that evening, when most of the team was asleep, someone attempted to sabotage the internal systems. An alarm jolted Lena awake. The central console displayed red warnings. The nutrient flow to the embryo's stasis chamber had been, clogged, and power fluctuations threatened the cooling system. Lena bolted from her bunk and sprinted down the corridor, flanked by Colonel Weiss. In the main lab, a tangle of wires had been cut near the nutrient pump. A vial of nutrient solution lay shattered on the floor, its contents seeping toward the air vent. Lena knelt by the broken vial, her heart pounding. "They tried to kill it," she whispered. She glanced at the stasis chamber. The embryo's glow flickered weakly, but backup systems had kept it alive. Weiss activated manual overrides to reroute nutrients and restart power to the cooling coils. Dr. Yara Wu arrived, rubbing sleep from her eyes. When she saw the damaged equipment, her hands trembled. "Why would anyone do this?" she cried. "This child could save an entire species." Anya Vost, the ethicist, appeared with a tablet in hand. "I found messages on a hidden server. Someone within our own security team planned the sabotage. They believed the project was a threat to humanity. They didn't care about the Halori's fate." Her voice broke. "They were willing to kill for their beliefs." Lena's breath caught, though no one suspected Colonel Weiss. Anya's gaze flicked to her. Weiss shook her head firmly. "I would never risk the embryo on purpose." She stepped forward, placing a hand on Lena's shoulder. "Trust your team. We will find the saboteur." The lab plunged into a tense silence as engineers assessed the damage. Until the pumps and power systems were fully restored, the embryo remained in danger. Raj quickly designed a redundant circuit to bypass the cut wires, while Yara mixed a fresh batch of nutrient solution behind a thermal screen. Anya verified that all ethical guidelines remained intact. All the while, Weiss patrolled the perimeter with a small squad of guards, ever vigilant for intruders. By dawn's first light, the backup systems were fully operational. The embryo's glow regained its steady rhythm. Lena exhaled, feeling relief wash over her. Yet the emotional toll weighed heavily. The outpost, once a quiet sanctuary for scientific discovery, now felt vulnerable on every side. She allowed herself a brief moment of hope. Perhaps the cry of that small child, this fragile hybrid life, would inspire compassion even among the most fearful. Later that morning, the team convened in the main lab. Lena addressed them in simple, earnest tones. "We have faced threats from both the outside and within, but this child's life is a beacon of unity. We cannot let fear or hate extinguish it. Instead, we must prove to the world that cooperation between species is possible and that compassion can overcome ignorance." As she spoke, Arvax's image flickered into view on a holoscreen. Through their telepathic link, he sent warmth and reassurance. "I sense your strength," he conveyed. "My people are united in hope." His presence lifted their spirits. Though he remained on the Erytheon in low orbit, his silent support reminded them of the stakes. Not just this embryo, but an entire civilization. Dr. Raj Patel nodded. "I will tighten the software security. We will encrypt every data stream and install real-time intrusion detection. No one will breach our systems again." Dr. Yara Wu added, "I will refine the nutrient solution formula to include real-time pH and temperature sensors. That way, if anyone tampers with it, we will know instantly." Anya spoke next, her voice steady. "I will issue a public statement once we validate the embryo's stability. We must control the narrative, let people understand why this child matters, not as a weapon, but as a bridge between worlds." Colonel Weiss tapped a finger on the table. "I will coordinate with local officials to manage the protests peacefully. No violence from our side, but any unauthorized entry attempts will be met with non-lethal deterrence. We cannot risk another sabotage." Lena looked around at her team. She felt, despite the chaos, a sense of unity and purpose. "Thank you, everyone. Today we recommit ourselves to protecting this child. Let us show Earth and the Halori that life and hope can triumph over fear." With renewed determination, the scientists and security personnel returned to their stations. Lena remained by the stasis chamber, watching the embryo's soft green light. In that glow, she saw a future where humans and Halori could live together in harmony. The threats outside and within served only to strengthen their resolve. As the sun climbed higher, the mountain lab hummed with renewed energy. The protests below continued, but now louder voices spoke for understanding and unity. Online campaigns touted messages of goodwill. 2 species, 1 hope, science and compassion, and save the hybrid child. The tide of public opinion slowly shifted. Late that night, when the lab halls were quiet, Lena stood alone before the chamber. The embryo's glow pulsed steadily, as if offering a soft lullaby. She whispered, "We will protect you, little one, no matter the cost." Outside, the wind whispered through the pines, carrying her promise into the starry sky. an unspoken vow that, in the face of turmoil and fear, life would find a way. Dawn's soft light filtered through the laboratories, narrow windows illuminating rows of glowing screens and humming equipment. Dr. Lena Farouk stood before the crystalline womb, a clear, oval-shaped device etched with pale Hilori runes. It shimmered with gentle turquoise light. Inside, the hybrid embryo floated in a nutrient bath, protected by a transparent membrane. This device was designed to mimic Hilori gestational conditions. The fluid inside contained precise blends of minerals and hormones, and the runes helped regulate gentle bioresonance. It was a marvel of alien and human engineering combined. Lina's heart raced as she watched the embryo's faint glow pulse in rhythm with the device's energy hum. Beside her, Dr. Raj Patel adjusted a control panel that monitored pH levels, temperature, and nutrient flow. Each reading hovered within safe ranges. "The embryo is stable," Raj whispered, his voice tinged with relief. "We can begin the next phase." In a side room, Dr. Yara Wu prepared the exosuit that would act as the surrogate vessel. It looked like a lightweight, transparent harness shaped to fit over a human torso. Thin tubes ran from the harness into a compact control unit on the woman's back. The harness would cradle the crystalline womb next to the host's body, allowing Hilori-like conditions to develop around the embryo without requiring a human womb. Yara gently lifted the harness, checking each sensor and valve. Dr. Anya Vos, the team's ethicist, stood nearby, holding a tablet. She had drafted a detailed care plan for the surrogate host, ensuring that every procedure respected human dignity and safety. Her eyes moved between Yara's careful adjustments and the readings on the tablet. "Every step must honor both life forms," Anya said quietly. "We are creating a new life that belongs to two worlds. We cannot lose sight of its rights." Colonel Mara Weiss, in charge of security, stood guard at the laboratory door. She scanned the hallway for signs of intrusion. Though protests had subsided, the lab remained under strict protection. Still, in this moment, she allowed herself to feel hopeful. If this phase succeeded, the world might finally see the hybrid child not as a symbol of fear, but as a bridge between species. Suddenly, Ambassador Arvax's silver form materialized in the laboratory's center. He wore a simple robe woven from Hilori fibers, soft iridescent cloth that changed color with his shifting emotions. His many eyes held gentle gratitude. Lena felt a warm comfort in his presence. Though they had only known each other a short time, they now shared a bond forged through shared struggle and hope. Arvax spoke without words, projecting calm images into their minds. Fields of Hilori crystal gardens on his homeworld, children laughing beneath violet skies, and families gathered in peaceful harmony. He conveyed a silent plea. "Let the child live. Let both our peoples learn from this union." Lena nodded, smiling. She felt tears prick her eyes at the beauty of his memories. "We are ready," Lena said aloud. She turned to the small group of volunteers who had agreed to serve as hosts. One woman, Dr. Isabel Chen, stood forward with quiet confidence. Isabel was a skilled obstetrician who understood human pregnancy better than anyone. Though she knew she would not carry a human child, she willingly offered her body to the crystalline womb. Her calm brown eyes met Lena's. "I will do my best," she said. Yara helped Isabel slip into the exosuit harness. Thin straps secured around her shoulders and waist, and Isabel felt the cool touch of metallic sensors on her skin. The harness hummed to life, its tubes connecting to the crystalline womb. Lena and Raj carefully lifted the womb device and positioned it at Isabel's side. The runic etchings glowed brighter as the harness sealed around Isabel's torso. Isabel closed her eyes, focusing on the soft hum and gentle vibrations coursing through the exosuit. Within seconds, her vital signs appeared on the central monitor. Lena checked the readings. Heart rate steady, oxygen levels normal, and core temperature slightly elevated to simulate Hilori carrying conditions. All values were within safe limits for a human host. Isabel seemed calm, her face serene. Lena activated the gestational sequence. The chamber's soft light brightened, and nutrient flow increased in a measured way, On a nearby screen, a detailed, 3D image of the embryo appeared. Its form had grown slightly since the last check. Limb buds were visible and its neural network showed signs of organized growth. A wave of excitement swept through the lab. Arvax approached the monitor, his many eyes shifting through shades of indigo and emerald. Lena could almost feel his silent pride as he observed the data. He projected images of Halori newborns cradled in crystalline cocoons on his home planet. These children, nascent with living light, responded to their parents' bioresonance. He seemed to share his culture's lullabies with those images, gentle melodies that Lena imagined flowing like soft streams of color. "Watch the oxygen saturation," Raj reminded them, pointing at the monitor. Human blood must supply enough oxygen to the exosuit circuit, while the nutrient fluid around the embryo needed a different mix. Isabel's body was adapting smoothly, her lungs and heart working effortlessly. Lena smiled and patted Isabel's arm. "You are doing wonderfully, Doctor," she said. Hours passed in quiet vigilance. The lab team exchanged nervous glances and soft smiles as they monitored every reading. Outside the lab's reinforced windows, sunlight moved across the mountain slopes. Within, human and alien minds worked in unison. Dr. Anya Vost recorded every detail in the care plan, ensuring no ethical boundary was crossed. Colonel Weiss stood ready, her fingers curling around the handle of the lab door in case anyone tried to intrude. As evening approached, Lena saw the embryo's form shift on the monitor. Tiny, translucent arms and legs had taken shape, and its head now showed the first faint outlines of Halori-patterned neural ridges. Lena's breath caught. She exchanged a glance with Raj. He nodded, his smile broad. "Look at that," he whispered. "It's beautiful." Isabel rested her hand on the crystalline womb, her face serene. Even as a surrogate host, she had formed a bond with this fragile life. Lena felt a wave of gratitude for Isabel's courage. Without her, this phase would have been impossible. Isabel turned her head slightly toward Lena and offered a small, weary smile. "I feel a gentle warmth around me," she said. Like a soft glow in my chest. Lena stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on Isabel's shoulder. "That is life forming," she said. "Two worlds coming together." She glanced at Arvax, who projected images of Halori families singing lullabies beneath glowing crystal trees. The melody felt alive in their minds. Late that night, when the lab was quiet except for the soft hum of machines, Lena allowed herself a moment to reflect. This embryo would become the first of its kind, a living symbol of unity. On one side of its being, Halori genetics whispered of ethereal crystal cities and empathic bonds. On the other, human DNA carried stories of resilience, creativity, and compassion. This child's heart and mind would hold both legacies. Arvax stood close by, his silent support unwavering. Lena felt hope swell inside her. She imagined a future where humans and Halori would walk side by side, sharing knowledge, art, and culture. Already she and Arvax had begun lessons. She taught him simple earth words: hope, family, peace. He taught her to hum Halori lullabies, vibrations that resonated like wind through chimes of crystal. Isabel rested for the night, her breathing slow and steady. The crystalline womb glowed softly against her side. The embryo continued to grow, guided by the blend of human and Halori care. Data on the monitor showed stable growth curves within ideal ranges. Lena allowed a smile to bloom. She felt deep gratitude toward her team, to Isabel, and to Arvax's people for trusting them. As the lab's lights dimmed, Lena whispered to Arvax, "Tomorrow, we will see more changes, and every change will bring us closer to a new dawn." Arvax's many eyes shifted in response, reflecting calm determination. He projected a simple thought. "Thank you, Lena. Thank you, everyone. For this child, we are one." The laboratory felt heavy with expectation as dawn's first light touched the mountain ridge. Inside, Dr. Lena Farouk watched the glowing readings. On the monitor, the hybrid embryo had reached full term inside the crystalline womb. Today would be the day of birth. Around her, the team moved with careful purpose. Each person knew how important this moment was. They had come so far. With a deep breath, Isabel activated the exosuit's birth sequence. The harness began to glow more intensely. Small tubes around the womb introduced a final blend of Halori gestational hormones. At the same time, gentle hums from the control console filled the room. Lena, Raj, and Yara stood close, watching lines of data scroll across screens. Anya stood by with a tablet, prepared to record every detail for ethical records. Colonel Mara Weiss stood at the door, alert and protective. Slowly, the crystalline womb's top panel slid open. Inside, the hybrid child floated in a pale blue fluid. Its small form was translucent, with delicate limbs and a softly glowing face. Pale violet patterns marked its skin, Halori neural ridges blending with human features. The child's eyes were closed, but faint flickers of light passed behind the lids. Lena carefully reached inside and lifted the child. It floated into her arms like a living piece of art. Lena spoke to the child in a quiet tone. "Welcome, little one. You are loved." The child's tiny chest rose and fell, as if inhaling a breath of life. Arvax moved closer. Though he could not physically touch the child without risking harm, he extended a thin, tentacle-like projection of empathic energy toward its form. The child responded with a small ripple of light. Arvax's eyes shifted through shades of gold and lavender. Emotions of joy and gratitude filled the room. Isabel's eyes glistened with tears. "It is perfect," she whispered. "I feel its heartbeat." Lena placed the child gently on a soft, sterile pad. Immediately, small sensors measured vital signs: stable heartbeat, normal pulse, healthy energy resonance. Arvax breathed a soft sigh that resonated in their minds. "Now we must secure the child," Lena said. "We keep it safe until we decide where it will live." She motioned for Raj to prepare a portable incubation unit. Raj quickly assembled a small device lined with Halori crystal plates. It was designed to hold the child in a gentle field that simulated both human warmth and Halori energy resonance. Lena placed the child inside, and the unit glowed softly, cradling the newborn in a bed of light. At that moment, Colonel Weiss received a silent message on her secure channel. Her shoulders stiffened and her face paled. She stepped aside and tapped a few buttons on her wrist console. 2 military officers entered the lab quietly. Weiss turned to them, her voice low. "You have orders to bring the child back to the base," she whispered. "I must follow protocol." Lena's heart sank. "Why?" she asked, confused and alarmed. "Our agreement was that the child would remain here with us, protected." Weiss looked conflicted. "I'm sorry. Higher command believes the child could be useful for defense research. They say we cannot risk giving it to the Halori without ensuring Earth's security." She glanced at Arvax, whose eyes widened. In silent shock, Arvax projected a thought to Lena. "No, we cannot let them take the child. It belongs to both our peoples." The room felt suddenly cold. Lena met Weiss's gaze. "Colonel, this is a betrayal of everything we agreed. We are protectors, not soldiers." Weiss closed her eyes for a moment, struggling. "I have no choice," she whispered. "I must obey orders." She stepped toward the incubation unit. "Hand over the child." Lena moved in front of the unit. "I cannot allow that," she said firmly. "We will not let you use the child as a weapon." Her voice shook with anger and fear. Raj placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Lena, step back. Let me talk to them." Raj faced the 2 officers. "The child is a symbol of peace," he said. "If you take it, you risk starting a conflict with the Halori. They will not understand your intent. They will see this as an act of aggression." One officer hesitated. "The orders stand," he replied. "We have instructions to secure the child immediately." The other officer raised a non-lethal containment device, a small energy net projector. Lena's breath caught. They intended to trap the unit and carry it out by force. Arvax's body glowed brighter, as if reacting to the threat. He projected a thought. "Stop, do not do this." But the officers advanced. In that tense moment, Yara activated the lab's emergency lockdown. The door slid shut with a soft hydraulic hiss. Lights dimmed and then blinked red. The lab's defense grid engaged low-frequency sound waves to deter intrusion. Weiss stared at the officers, torn between duty and conscience. Captain Reyes, one of the officers, gripped the containment device more tightly. "Colonel Weiss," he said quietly, "stand down or be removed." Weiss looked at Lena, then at Arvax, and back at her own men. In her chest she felt a deep conflict. She stepped forward, placing herself between the officers and the child. Her eyes were fierce. "I refuse to let you take this child," she said, "not while my loyalty lies with its safety." The two officers exchanged a glance. Suddenly, a soft hum echoed through the lab as a containment field activated around the incubation unit. Arvax had used a Halori energy shield, an invisible barrier that repelled physical and energy-based intrusion. The officers flinched as their containment nets dissolved on contact. Raj and Yara stood ready beside Lena, prepared to protect the unit. Realizing they faced unity and force far stronger than expected, Captain Reyes lowered his device. "Stand down," he ordered his partner. They stepped back, hands raised. "We will comply," Reyes said, voice tense. "But we will report this." Weiss exhaled slowly. She nodded to Lena. "I will shield this lab," she said. "Whatever comes, I will protect the child." She turned to her officers and said, "Report to headquarters. I will handle this." As the officers left, the lab team breathed a collective sigh of relief. Arvax's shield lowered in relief that at last they had found a home where both Halori and humans could live in harmony. Inside the ship's main chamber, a portable incubation unit held the child. He slept peacefully, his small body wrapped in a soft blanket of human weave cloth lined with Halori crystal fibers. Dr. Raj Patel and Dr. Yara Wu stood beside the incubator, checking his vital signs. The child's rhythm was steady, his pulse as calm as the gentle hum of the Orethion's engines. "His heart rate is normal," Raj said quietly. "He is healthy." Yara nodded, gently adjusting the tiny sensors on the child's hand. His readings matched the records from the lab. He has grown so much since birth. The child's eyelids fluttered, and a soft smile curved his lips. Lena reached into the incubator to stroke his hair. The child's skin glowed with faint violet patterns. His eyes opened slowly, revealing swirling colors of green and blue, the first sign of his dual heritage. Lena smiled. "Hello, Cairo Farouk," she whispered. "We are nearly at Teravia." The child cooed softly, as if sensing her words. Arvax, standing behind Lena, watched with pride. His violet-green eyes shimmered as he saw the child recognize his name. Arvax projected a gentle thought into Lena's mind. He senses home. The crew prepared for landing. In the shuttle's cockpit, Colonel Mara Weiss sat beside the pilot, Captain Song. Weiss kept her eyes on the radar, watching for any unexpected craft. Though tensions from Earth had faded, she remained alert. Captain Song gently guided the shuttle toward a landing platform carved into the crystalline spires below. As the shuttle descended, Lena felt the walls of the chamber vibrate with energy. The domed city's structures responded to the shuttle's approach, beams of light tracing welcoming patterns across the spires. When the shuttle touched down, a hush swept through the crystalline hall where they disembarked. Council members from both Halori and human delegations waited. Halori elders wore robes of living crystal that shifted color with their mood. Human scientists and diplomats stood beside them, dressed in simple white uniforms. All turned to greet the child, Cairo Farouk, who was carried in his incubation. Unit Ambassador Arvax stepped forward, his form bathed in soft green light. He spoke to the assembled crowd in his gentle telepathic voice. "We bring you the future of two worlds. Let this child's life guide us toward peace." Lena translated his words aloud for the humans. He says, "This child unites us. Let his life show the way to peace." A ripple of applause ran through the gathered crowd. Hilori elders bowed their heads, their eyes glowing with hope. Human delegates nodded, some with tears in their eyes. The Hilori Senator Miriam Sol approached the child. Her tall form glowed pale violet as she spoke. Cairo Farouk, you carry two legacies. From this day forward, you are a symbol of unity. May your life guide both your peoples. She gently placed her hand near the incubation unit. Immediately, the child's crystal patterns pulsed brighter, as if responding to her touch. Lena felt a wave of warmth as the child cooed once more. Next, human diplomat Michael Reynolds stepped forward. He wore a simple white shirt and dark pants. He bowed respectfully. Cairo Farouk, he said, your life shows what is possible when we set aside fear and hate. We honor the Hilori for trusting us, and we pledge to protect you. He extended a small wooden box containing a single white dove feather, a symbol of peace on earth. He placed the feather near the child's incubator. The child's tiny fingers reached out, touching the feather. Lena felt tears well in her eyes. After the ceremony, the crowd dispersed. Cairo Farouk was carried to a special living pod designed for his care. The pod's walls were made of transparent crystal panels that could shift opacity to regulate light and temperature. Inside, a soft mattress lined with woven crystal fibers cradled him. He gazed around with curious eyes, taking in the gentle glow of the domed sky above. Lights in the dome simulated a sunrise, casting soft golden rays across his face. Lena and Arvax watched as Cairo Farouk cooed at the changing colors. Arvax projected a thought to Lena. This place nurtures both his human heart and Hilori spirit. Lena nodded, her heart full. He seems content, she whispered. Arvax's smile shimmered through his crystal robes. He is at home, he confirmed. Terevia's environment matches Hilori biochemistry more closely than Earth's. Yet its mild gravity and Earth-like atmosphere also support human physiology. Lena watched the child, whose tiny eyes reflected emerald greens and sapphire blues in turn. He blinked and seemed to study Lena and Arvax with innocence and wonder. Over the next hours, human and Hilori scientists conducted gentle tests to confirm the child's health. Dr. Yara Wu measured oxygen levels in the pod. They were stable and comfortable. Dr. Raj Patel observed the child's heartbeat and neural patterns. Everything fell within normal ranges for both species. Anya Vost recorded each finding carefully in her ethical ledger. The agreement signed, months ago, still applied. Cairo Farouk would remain under joint care until he could choose his own path. As evening fell, the crystalline dome above Terevia glowed with bioluminescent plants growing on its inner surface. The soft lights cast gentle shadows across the city below, where Hilori families gathered in small parks, watching the new human visitors with curiosity and warmth. In a nearby courtyard, Hilori children played under soft, glowing crystal trees. Their laughter echoed like gentle chimes. Lena and Arvax stood on an observation balcony overlooking the city. Lena wrapped a light shawl around her shoulders, feeling the cool breeze that rustled through the crystal spires. She looked at Arvax and spoke quietly. Do you think he will understand both our worlds one day? Arvax's eyes glowed, soft green. He will learn our customs, our languages, and our hopes. He will see that love and compassion bind us stronger than fear. Lena nodded. He will remind us of that every day. In the child's living pod, Cairo Farouk slept in peaceful calm. His small chest rose and fell in rhythm with the gentle hum of the life support crystals. His violet skin shimmered under the dome's light. As he slept, he pressed a tiny hand against the transparent wall of the pod. Lena reached forward to touch it. The child responded with a faint pulse of light, like a heartbeat echoing through crystal. Lena's eyes brimmed with emotion. She sensed that he knew she was there to protect him. In that moment, Lena understood something profound. Cairo Farouk represented not just hope for the Hilori and humans, but a new way of living. A way where differences could become strengths, where two very different peoples could share knowledge, culture, and life. This child was the living bridge between worlds.